time of a live cooking show, and we've been wanting to do this for a long time because she's a really great chef and she's very patient in terms of like teaching. She's very good also, and she's a self-taught chef. So what we're going to do today is a beef pho, and we're going to go step by step in terms of how she does it. Some people also obviously do it differently, but we're biased. We love her pho more than anybody else's. That's why we don't eat anywhere else for pho. If you don't have all the ingredients, that's totally fine. We will send you the list of the ingredients, and she'll talk about any substitutions you can make in terms of like what meat, what type of bones, etc. And also, if you have any questions, just put it on the chat, and I'll make sure to bring it up during this cooking show, so that way nobody else is talking over her. So I'll give her the floor. By the way, her name is Thuy, and this is Brian's mom, my mother-in-law. She's really good, like I said, at cooking. So I'll give you.
So what I would like to do is I sent out a PowerPoint, a PDF, right? So I want to go through the screens one by one so that we know what to expect. So the second slide is the raw ingredients, because I happen not to have the pre-mixed packages. And the list of the raw ingredients are what people actually use to make in Vietnam. They don't use the pre-mixed one. Okay. So these are the ingredients, 1, 2, 3, 6 different ingredients that I use. Some of them are absolute requirements. Some of them, it's nice to have it. If you don't have it, it's not the end of the world.
We'll also send them a link to the pre-made ones if they want to do that.
So the third slide are samples of the pre-mixed ones. In case you don't want to mess around with the raw ingredients, you can just go to the store and say, get me one of these. So any one of these will work. And so what they do is they give you the pre-portions all in one bag. So that's all you need to do. You can have the same. Now, what is the following one is the fourth slide. Those are what the noodles look like. Some of them are kind of semi-fresh, some of them are bone dry. So pick one, show it to them at the store, Asian stores, of course. You might not be able to find it at the routes. And the fifth slide shows you the green stuff, the produce that I use. And again, I think you probably know all of these things. Thai basil, that's what it looks like. And then the shallot, which is this guy. I just use it because I just happen to have a whole bunch of it in stock, and it makes the broth very sweet. So it's optional, but I use it in this particular recipe. Okay, so the next slide is number 6. Is that number 6?
No,
shows you the onions. These guys, which I'm going to put in the oven because it takes 30 minutes. We're going to roast them. Onion, shallot, garlic, and ginger. The oven is already on, so by the time we're ready for them, we didn't waste any time waiting for it to brown. Okay, at the beginning, you see, go back to slide number 2 when you see all the raw ingredients. That's how much we need of each. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna gather all the dry spices together, and we're gonna roast them. Roast them in, toast them in on the pan. Show in the pan. Okay, you can see the pan.
Sorry, quick question. So with this one, how many bowls do you expect we can make?
About a dozen.
A dozen. That's good.
So very low heat in this guy. This one is cinnamon stick. You all know what it looks like. Don't use the powder, because the powder is going to make your broth like laundry water. So use this. Get the flavor. So it says here that you have to have 20 grams. I just happen to have the scale here. But if you use a premix, you don't have to mess around with this step.
Okay.
How would they grind it? What would you suggest?
Grind what?
Maybe they need to grind the cinnamon sticks?
No, you leave it whole. Okay, take it here. I put it here because it's the largest piece. It's gonna take a little longer to bring out the flavor. And then the star anise looks like this. In case you've never seen one before. No brandy.
I want to see.
That's my sous chef.
Can I see, please?
Okay, here. You need to have 5 grams. Thank you. Put it back here. On the thing again. And then cloves. I didn't have any cloves, so I had to go and get it from my neighbor who's a baker. So she has a truckload of cloves. This is what it looks like. Brian, it's
Give me one.
okay. That we only need 2 grams because they're very potent.
Can we get the video closer?
Hello.
Oh, it doesn't do it. Is that better, Lauren? Great. Thumbs up.
All right, let me make some adjustments real quick.
Back there, please. And then fennel. This is what fennel looks like. Well, you can find it at pretty much all of the regular grocery stores. And for that, I need 6 grams.
This is stuff can put on the tree. We can put this on the tree. You know we can put this on a tree.
Yes, I can.
Everyone want to put it. Back. Everyone will put you can mix to
So
the
this is
tree.
what it looks like.
Ever.
Fennel.
Everyone want to. Everyone want to put it.
Okay.
Everyone want to put it. It's
Okay, yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. See, over here. And then this is coriander. See,
The wind.
again, you can find this at any stores. But your best bet is to go to a Middle Eastern market. They have everything. That I need 15 grams.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, here. And again, everything here. The last one is black cardamom. I did not have it, so I went to the neighbor, and the only thing that she was able to give me is the brown one. It's not perfect, but it will do. But for this, I need to put it in a tea bag so that it doesn't cloud the broth. Tea bag, guys, buy this at Daiso if you want. It's $1 a pack, and it's a lifesaver. Okay, but this one I'm not gonna roast because it's powder. So I will roast it about 10 minutes, kind of bring out the flavor, and then put all of these in a bag so that later on when you remove it, you remove 1 bag instead of 10,000 small pieces.
What is the color for this?
The what?
Color for this.
Here, help me.
If you don't buy a color for this, what else is gonna mix in the
Okay.
So the tea bags are so you don't have to scoop all the little things that we're roasting right now, and you don't want to eat it in your soup. So we put it in a tea bag so
Okay,
it just keeps it.
So give this maybe about 15 minutes or so over medium-high heat, between medium and low, Parker. And just leave it there. You don't have to do anything. But at the end of those, after you roast them, put them in a tea bag. And that's what they sell this for $1 at Daiso. Put everything in here and then in the pot. I'll show you later. So the next step is to deal with the meat and the bones. So what you do is, in order for your broth to become clear, you have to wash it first.
What is this?
That's salt. And to
Quick
wash
question.
it,
For the fennel, does it have to be grounded?
no, nothing's ground.
Can you put a cover on
You can
this?
show it, everything that you saw earlier, just leave them whole and then you put it in the back and get the flavor out of it. Don't grind anything. So I have a pot of boiling
A
water.
cover for this.
So
A cover
what?
for this.
Okay, I will get you that. This is the short ribs. You know, it looks like kind of Korean short, but this is like that you can find at any grocery store. But this is the easy part. So you dump it into boiling water for about 5 minutes. This way, this is the trick to make the broth clear, and you don't have to remove the, the scum on top later on. This is the lifesaver. This is the little trick that anybody who makes clear soup use. So already boiled for about 5 minutes. And each piece here goes into one bowl. So I have about a dozen pieces. It's gonna make about a dozen bowls. So, but if you want more meat, of course, add more meat. But for this recipe, that's all I use.
Daddy,
So after roasting, everything goes into a tea bag, right?
Right, everything will go into the tea bag. Everyone.
Can we play outside?
Yes, after this we can.
Can we play outside before my hot goes?
Okay, so now all we do is wait. So you can turn on the volume, pop all you want, and then when we're ready for the next step, we can put you back on mute again. So,
Yeah, everybody can unmute if they want to.
let me give you the
I think they can.
So how long are we boiling?
once it goes back to boil, 5 minutes.
Crystal's asking, do we just put the spices directly on the pan when roasting, or do you need to add water or?
No, just roast. That's why it's here. You see?
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
Roast to medium
Medium.
to low, right?
Yeah, medium to low. Don't cook anything, you just bring out the flavor.
Thank you for helping, Parker.
You are wonderful. You're so wonderful. This guy, you can tell when it's ready, when you can smell the spices in the air. Can you point over here? This pot is about 1.5 gallons.
Hold on. Let me move the camera.
This pot is. Yeah, this big pot is where we're gonna make the soup. This one is just to clean the bones. So you can see that it's coming back to boiling. So I'll watch it so that it doesn't overflow. And then you're gonna see all this, yucky stuff floating on top of the time. And then wash it later. So
For the spices, does everything need to be in it, or there's one ingredient of the spice that could be left out?
okay, the ones, okay, I'm reducing the heat of the spice to low now while we're talking. The ones that are totally essential are the cinnamon, the anise, coriander, and fennel. So if you don't have, and the cloves. So if you don't have the cardamom, it's fine. Can you start to showing them how the water is boiling, starting to boil? Okay, so I watch it so that it doesn't overflow. Okay, so just leave it alone for 5 minutes. Okay, someone watch time for me.
Want 5 minutes?
5 minutes from this point.
Okay, Google. Set timer for 5 minutes.
I reduced the heat a little bit so it doesn't flow over. So Bob, when you send me the link to the
I sent her an email.
email.
Is there any other meats you can use besides the one you're using right now?
Okay, so you can use whole brisket. I mean, not whole, but maybe about 4 pounds of brisket. Tri-tip. My favorite is the knuckle bones. So you can get knuckle bones and tri-tip, that would be perfect.
Is it better to boil with bones or without bones?
The bones would give it a more intense flavor. I couldn't find bones, and then I don't have the pot big enough to accommodate the bone and the meat. But this is a shortcut in the sense that you have a bone in the short rib, and you have the meat on the bone itself. So when you serve, take one piece out, put it in the bowl. Make your life simple, and then it's easier for you to find the short rib than the knuckle bone. By the way, the knuckle bone, the best place to find those bones are the Korean markets. They almost always have it. And then if you use a bone, use a bigger pot, obviously. Well, I like, how many minutes does it be? 2 minutes to be fine, doesn't have to be 5. Everybody on the same page now?
Okay, Google. Stop
Did
timer.
you go over the grilling of the onions, shallots, and garlic?
Yeah, that's the first step. The first thing we did, before we start anything, we put everything on the tray, we put it in the oven.
Okay.
So we did that, and it has been 20 more minutes before it's done.
Oh.
Okay, so
You have to say one more time for the people who just joined.
oh, me?
Which one?
The first step.
The first step, meaning roasting the onions.
So again, roasting vegetable or toasting it on the stove brings out the flavor. That's why we do that before we put it all in the broth.
Right, so we put this in the oven for 30 minutes.
What's this? Can you describe it?
Oh, onions, shallot, garlic, and this is a must.
Ginger.
If you don't have the ginger, go make something else.
You guys don't even have to peel it.
Yeah, nothing. I just put it like that. And then it's already 10 minutes. I put it for another 20 minutes. And so this is an important step. The second step was we put all of these spices in the pan and then kind of roast it in low heat to bring out the flavor, maybe 10 minutes or so. So you have the list of all what those raw ingredients are in the PowerPoint and the exact weight, but basically this is what it looks like. So I let it kind of roast in the pan.
Can a beef shank work?
Yes, that works too. Just don't use pork. And one day I'll show you how to do it with chicken, but that's story for another day. Okay, so we just boiled the bones in water now. The next step is to go wash it. We boil it for 2 to 3 minutes, and then now we're gonna dump it into the sink and then wash the heck out of it. Maybe 2 or 3 waters.
Do you need a strainer or are you just going to?
Give me the big one.
I'll go as far as I can, but I don't know if I can get over it.
Nah, it's okay. Everybody knows how to wash. Okay. So this is an important important step because you don't want to be standing by the stove, then removing all the gunk. If you do it this way, once you wash it, you put it in this next pot and then you walk away from it. So you wash it in about 2 or 3. Cold water. Use cold water just to wash it, just like washing your hands. And you probably do happy birthday about 10 times before it's ready.
Wesley, say hi.
1, 2, 3.
So you just dump the water that you cooked it in, right?
Yes, dump it.
And you're done with that water. Oh, just to get the gunk off the bones of the meat.
Now, you can start with putting all the spices in the bag. One bag, but you can break the cinnamon. It doesn't have to be. No, use a different bag.
So usually, pho is made in big batches, so that because usually it's good the next day, or it gets better as it gets more flavor for the soup. So 12 bowls might be a little bit aggressive, but you can always freeze the broth and use it later. Okay, we're gonna get more hot cocoa for you. The spices doesn't all have to be in one bag. If it doesn't fit, obviously you can use different bags, but just make sure you put them in a bag. That's important.
Oh, you can use oxtail too.
Oxtail, that's a good one. You can use that for the broth.
Crystal's asking how much or how many of those in the roasting, the onion, shallots, garlic, ginger, how much of that? Does it matter? Like how big of an onion, how much onions?
Yeah, it's on the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
Usually eyeball too, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want more
Oh, you
ginger
didn't put
taste,
how much shallots or how big?
Shallots, maybe 2 eggs. The size of 2 eggs.
What about onion?
1 big onion.
1 big onion,
If you want 2, that's fine.
2 shallots, a clove of garlic, and a big root of ginger.
so here we have 3 bags because not all of them fit, so that's really fine. It's just playing with it.
So here comes the moment of truth. The water is already boiling. So can you just put the bones in water? So when you can get in, is she gonna get? Is she gonna get? So
I'm recording it so we can.
so that. All the spices are in there.
So you put it all into this pot, right?
Yeah. So this is about 1.5 gallons of broth. So and then each person will get this much meat, approximately.
Oh, Maureen's asking if we don't have tea bags, is there an alternative?
Oh, that's
Wrap it in paper towel or something.
No, that'll fall.
no. Can the kitchen cloth?
Yeah.
Those work too. Right here, I'll show you what they look like.
Oh, okay.
Hey, what is this?
Nope. Right.
Cheesecloth.
Oh, so cheesecloth, you can use this too, but you have to tie it with a twine or a baker's twine.
So that plastic doesn't help.
Yeah, baker's twine, no rubber bands because you don't want the rubber band to melt, but baker's twine's good, or yeah, no, I think baker's twine's the only one. And this is a cheesecloth or any cloth that's small enough to hold all of the spices, because you're gonna take them out and you can reuse this a lot of times.
Or if you're really desperate, get a handkerchief. Yes.
An old handkerchief. If you don't want to use them.
Coffee filters.
Or
That
coffee.
works.
Yeah.
Somehow it doesn't float all over the place. So just be creative. We can handle that. Okay, the shallot, I use it because I have it, and I know that it's gonna make the broth even more powerful.
Any alternatives?
Daikon. If you have daikon, my favorite is daikon. But I'm
Face
not gonna,
mask, I guess you can use it if you have plenty of
But those are very, in need now. Probably not best to use for broth.
Not the used ones either.
No. We
Well, it'll kill the germs anyways, right?
Oh, socks.
Huh?
Socks.
Socks.
Oh.
Clean socks.
Green socks. I mean, it's your broth. Do whatever you need to do. Okay. I think I'm just gonna use one shallot, but my favorite is daikon. And then if you totally desperate, you don't have either one of those, carrots. Carrots will work too. Okay, so and then all the spices in here, and
The bags, are they single use?
no, disposable.
Yeah, single
Yeah,
use.
single use.
So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't use them more than once.
Okay, and remember this? It was in the oven. It's very powerful. Now it's very fragrant. But what I'll do with the what I will do with the ginger, I'm gonna slice it. Only because when you slice it, it brings out more flavors. See? Flavor is wonderful once you taste it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I would leave the onion whole. I wouldn't cut it up. And the reason being that it falls apart really quick in relation to everything else. So if you cut it, it's going to cloudy your broth. Leave it whole. And then peel the skin so that it doesn't make your broth brown. I'll remove some of
How much water do you put in the pot?
1.5 gallons.
So enough water to fill it up, but not enough so that it overflows.
Oh yeah. Goes without saying, unless you like cleaning the stove.
Yes, Bart.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Good job. High five.
Hey, Daddy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's right. What color is it?
Okay, done.
Daddy,
Now I turn it all the way down because I don't want to clean the stove later on. Oh, forgot. Salt. Okay, I don't know how much salt yet, but I'm gonna start with
Who?
I'm gonna start with 2 tablespoons. And then at the very end, before you serve, you taste it again. And so you will be adding either more salt or salt and fish sauce. Now everybody that's okay with fish sauce, right? You know what it is.
hey, Daddy.
Should we show them the bottle? Or
Mommy,
we'll do one?
It's not really because we all.
Because there's so many brands. Is there any specific brand?
Those going here?
Yeah.
Hey,
There's
Mommy.
some specific fish sauce brand that are a little bit more potent than the others. So she has a favorite.
Mommy.
And we'll show you which one.
Mommy. Mommy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I am drinking.
Okay, so this is what fish sauce looks like. There are 1,000 brands out there. This is just one. Pick that.
Ro, I might have a beer with you. And it's only 10:30 a.m. here, so don't judge.
Yeah, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere else, so you're okay.
Question. So the skin from the garlic isn't removed. We just left it like that, and we didn't take it piece by piece. We put the whole thing in.
Only because you don't want to be fishing it one at a time. It's gonna be in here for 3 hours, so it's long enough to give you the flavor. So it's all about minimizing unnecessary steps. So go back to the fish sauce. What you want to do is you don't want to cook the fish sauce for 3 hours. First of all, it's things like the son of a gun. The second thing is that the longer you cook, the longer it changes the flavor of the fish sauce. So wait up to the very end, like maybe the last 10 minutes or so, or maybe even before you serve with the noodles and other stuff. So I'm gonna leave this one here in very, very low heat, the lowest one that you can. 3 hours, forget about it. Go have a 6-pack of beer. And let me go through the vegetables that I use. Okay, non-negotiable is the green onions. My last bunch until the next time we go to the market, so very precious.
Also, you can grow these, right?
Oh yeah.
These are easy to grow.
So what I do with growing the onions is that I'm gonna cut this part off. This part, say you're gonna use this for the top. Cut maybe about an inch with the root and then stick it in the ground. And in 2 weeks you have more green onions. So I in about 2 weeks I have a whole bunch of them out there. I will not be going to the market just to buy these guys because I have it. Now optional but also very important is me in this house. If I don't have this, I don't make pho, and that's Thai basil.
Is there an alternative to Thai basil?
Has to be Thai. Cannot be Italian, cannot be minced, it has to be Thai. And so, you know, I usually don't use this much, but this is the only way they sell it at the market. So I had to.
Can you show it up close to the camera?
Yeah, I can
Just
show
grab
it.
it.
Yeah. And then there's a photo of it in your PowerPoint. And then obviously you want bean sprouts. And this is not a gardening session, but in case you want it to be self-sufficient, you might want to flip this bottom part here, see, which is not over here, and stick it in water. That's how you propagate it. Get your own later, but that's for another day. So I always say this bottom part so I can use it to regrow it. That's it. And then obviously you need to have bean sprouts and lime. Oh, no. Sriracha.
So these are condiments, right?
You all know about this. You have to have this guy. You have to have this hoisin sauce. Has to be on the table of all decent fall places.
So beans wrap.
We don't have bean stock, so that's optional.
How much fish sauce?
2 tastes. So then maybe about half a cup. But remember, at the very end, don't dump it in right now. Your house is gonna hate it. Okay, that's it. Oh, the noodles. Show you some brands of noodles in the PowerPoint, but this is the only thing we have in the refrigerator tonight. So remember, 1 bag of this. That's 1 pound bag. That's 5 bowls. That's how you plan your meal.
Can you use different thickness of noodles? So
Whatever
it's a
you
fresh rice stick noodle. So any rice noodle. Right? For the healthy folks that want to use a different type of noodle, what would you recommend?
No, they're all rice noodles. So if you
So no option for healthy.
if you really don't want it, actually you can use what they call vermicelli.
Okay.
That's not rice based, but it's based on another kind of flour. So these are labels. Anything. Oh, you can use udon. Udon is readily available, but it's still, if you're trying to avoid starch, go get something else. Go buy yourself a steak.
Can you simmer the broth longer than 3 hours or
Yes.
3 hours?
Yes, at least 3 hours. So after 3 hours, I'm gonna go check because I don't want the meat to fall apart. I want it to get a little bite into it. So after 3 hours, I'll decide if I want to turn it off. Not turn it off, but I can take the meat out. So
So we can keep it going.
yes, but why would you want to keep it going? It's a waste of yeah. The 3 hours will bring out all the flavors. Any other questions?
Can you do it? Have you done it in an Instapot before?
No, but my brother does it in Instapot and total success. So just go for it. Except that you probably will do 45 minutes and then check it because you don't want it to, the meat become mushy.
Can you use rice stick noodles?
Yeah. Rice stick meaning the teeny tiny one like angel hair. Nah, it's kind of fall apart in the broth. So do something a little wider. Pad Thai noodles, that's perfect for it too. And or you can use what's that Chinese chow fun? I love it with chow fun noodles, those fresh ones.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? I think that's pretty much the final. If you guys like our video.
Oh wait, not done. So one more question. Do you make the noodles separately? So how do you serve it?
Oh, okay. Serving part, that's story for another day. But basically, one bowl is a fifth of this package. The package is 1 ounce. So boiling water, a lot of water. You put the noodle in here.
In a separate pot of just boiling water.
Oh yeah, you do it separately because if you cook this in the broth, you're gonna spoil it. Then you're gonna get a cloudy kind of broth. You don't want that. And so you put it in here and you really blanch it. So I wouldn't do it for more than 10 seconds, and then take it out.
Put it in a bowl.
Yeah, put it in the bowl.
So any strainer would work. As long
Yeah. As long as you don't have to be fishing out one noodle at a time. What else? And then by that time you have already tasted your broth. Make sure that it's salty enough, and that's exactly what you want.
So how do you finish the broth? So you boil it 3 hours, and then you fish everything out.
Fish everything out. And if you are a perfectionist, you're gonna go run it back through a strainer. You take out any little pieces. If not, it's not there anymore. Just take out the big pieces.
Some people like the broth more clear, but if it's not too big of a deal.
It has to be clear. I mean, if it is not clear, then you're talking about drowning. So, different thing. You don't want it cloudy. This is not the type. Because you only wash through the bone, it's going to come out clear. Guarantee you that. And then it's hands-on. You don't have to do anything that way. And let it be instead.
So what do you do with the bag of seasoning and then also all the vegetables that you cut and put in there?
I love the vegetables except for the onions. I feed them to my dogs. My dogs love fall. And then all the spices come there.
So we keep the meat and we keep some of the ginger and the.
No, we don't keep anything.
Okay.
Just the meat. And then the onions are bad for dogs. That's why. Even though they would love to eat it, so I throw away with the onions.
When does the green onion come in?
Oh, the green onion is for garnish?
You chop them up and then you put it in the bowl with your meat.
Right.
And
So when you're ready to serve, you would have all of these ingredients like the bean sprout, the lemon, all of it ready to go. Put it on the side. And the onion, you slice it, chop it in small pieces, and put that on the side. So by the time that the noodles are ready, the meat is already ready, and it's already hot. And you put that on top of the noodles, and then you pour in the broth, and then the green onions. And then straight to the table. Don't wait a minute because the noodles are not stale.
How long can you store this broth?
If I have it in the Ziploc, cold, stick it in the freezer and it stays there for months until you remember you have it. But my little trick is usually I like it better the next day. So after 3 hours, I'm going to take it out to my outdoor refrigerator, and it's cool enough. You don't even have to worry about it. But put the lid back on because I had a cat, a neighborhood cat, walk by and drink my broth once because I forgot the lid.
When she meant outdoor refrigerator, is literally outside.
There.
Because if it's cold where you're at, it's totally fine. As long as it's not over 80 degrees or even 75 degrees hot, right?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about now. In 2 months, that will be something different. So, and then I'll bring back the whole thing back in the next day, and then I'll remove everything else at that time. But to be perfect, I will take the meat out because I want it to stop cooking. Take the meat out and let it cool. Stick that in the refrigerator. Just let it go cool down outside. Because if you leave the pot inside, it's gonna take, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours to cool down, and that's the danger zone. I don't know that. So that's that.
Cool.
And then on lazy days, you could buy the pho broth in a can.
Oh yeah, I recommend that brand. I've tried it, and it's actually not bad. So if mine is a 10, that one is probably an 8.
But you add some stuff to it, right?
No, according to that particular brand, it goes straight. You don't add water. There's some other brand you add more water to it. But
Not water, but like more ginger and cinnamon. If you want.
Yeah, if I want to, because I have all those available, I will add a little bit 1-star anise, a little bit of cinnamon. But if you don't have to, I mean, I don't want to complicate your life. Just try it straight from the can. And then come back to me and I'll show you little tricks. For right now, simple. It's only like $2. And you take next to big bowls, totally worth it.